what it is definitely. And I love that government has for a number of times, and it continuously is ensuring that technology is encompassed in the delivery of services. So today we want to be paying attention to where are we. We know that we are coming up with this report in a year where we were still hit by COVID-19. We can't say we are post-COVID, not at all. We are post-lockdown, but we are still grappling with effects of COVID-19. Then before we knew it, the Russia-Ukraine war came. Before we knew it, there are a lot of economic global crises that we need to deal with. So we ask ourselves that as the world continues to profess Uganda as one of the fastest growing economies, are services being delivered in the right way, equitably? Can people be able to access these services as and when they wish to? These are the discussions that we are going to be having. And for those who are joining us live on television, we will be live on UBC television, on NBS TV, and on UBC. I will request that all of us minimize our movements because these camera people need to get the best shots of the day, and that we will all be attentive and listen to what we have. I know the journalists can't wait to look for those scoops and those areas where we're doing well. By the way, those who always think that journalists look for the bad news, no? We look for the news that makes news, because after all, we are talking about news. So I want, without wasting any more time, to invite the Executive Director, Dr. Chris Mukiza-Ndatira, the Executive Director of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, who could either feel free to speak from his seat or could come to the podium, but he will be giving us an overview of this survey and what did inform this particular survey. But probably before the Executive Director comes, we will be getting our opening remarks as per the program. We earlier on had our national anthem. I love, for the first time I sang the Ugandan anthem in Swahili. That's impressive to you, boss team. Eh? Thank you so much for the Africanness, for the unity right there. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me invite the board chair of Uganda Bureau of Statistics, Dr. Albert Byamugisha, to speak to us. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, our moderator. The Minister of Public Service, who is a business owner of the service delivery. Our host, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, in charge of planning. Then we have the Minister of State for Public Service, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Public Service, Director General Population, National Population Council. We have the board members of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and the director of the Manifesto Office of the President, and then representatives from development partners who are here, representatives from government ministries, departments, and agencies, and the management of Uganda Bureau of Statistics, of course, headed by Executive Director Dr. Chris Mukiza, who is here. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to warmly welcome each and every one of you here this morning as we converge for the launch and dissemination of the key findings of the National Service Delivery for 2021. On behalf of the Board of Directors, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, and on my own behalf, allow me to express my sincere appreciation to you for having taken time off your busy schedules to come and participate in this launch. This meeting brings together key statistics stakeholders, such as the policymakers, development partners, data producers, and users from ministries, departments, agencies, and other stakeholders. Honorable ministers and friends attending this launch, I applaud the collaboration between the Bureau of Statistics and the Ministry of Public Service and the other actors who have produced statistical indicators that will be used to monitor and evaluate delivery of public services on a regular basis. This kind of collaboration among various ministries, departments, and agencies and higher local governments enhances the availability of timely and quality statistical indicators to not only inform government policy, but also measure the progress of the various development interventions. It is also a testimony that Uganda Bureau of Statistics is living up to its mandate for effectively building and coordinating the national statistical system. So allow me, I think, to applaud members of the Bureau for effectively delivering statistics, and this is one of them. I think you can join me to clap for them. As a Bureau, we continue to underline our commitment to broadening and deepening the scope of statistics, which will lead to the production of statistics that satisfies the increased demand for data of all our national, regional, and international stakeholders across economic, social, cultural, and political landscape. Here we are producing national statistics, which are used here, but we are also producing statistics which are used internationally. And as you are aware, Uganda adopted the international commitments. We have the East African Community, we have the African Aspirations, Agenda 2063, we have Agenda 2030, Sustainable Development Goals, and then for the case of that one, the Bureau measures, of course, indicators for that one. For example, with the UN SDGs, out of the 17 goals, of course, with the 169 targets, we have 232 indicators, and Uganda is able to measure 201. But out of those, the Bureau of Statistics has been able to provide data points for 119. So we are proud to use that, and of course, when we produced the recent report on Sustainable Development Goals, you find Uganda is ranked very high with the data which we have. You can check on the web. So we thank you so much, but we need to do better and make sure we measure all the 201. But I'm happy to inform you, honorable ministers, that when I read through the report, some of the data points which we didn't have actually are going to be provided by this report, because there is information on health, information on education, environmental management, peace, justice, and water and sanitation. There are some indicators we're not able to measure, so I think by tomorrow we should be able to get that information and be able to fill it. So we should be almost around 160, which is a plus. So I thank you very much for that. So today is yet another day we have provided clear testimony as we launch the dissemination of findings from the National Service Delivery. As you are aware, the National Development Plan recognizes statistics as a public good and calls for collection, management, analysis, and the dissemination of integrated, relevant, reliable, and timely statistical data and information for development planning. The government of Uganda adopted the program-based budgeting approach, which focuses on results. And it is only statistics that can tell the results attained by the different programs as highlighted in the National Development Plan. And this service delivery report that is going to be launched definitely has information on some of those programs that are indicated. So I can only reiterate our assurance that we at Uganda Bureau of Statistics have embraced this immense task of quenching the high demand for data that National Development Plan 3 and other development frameworks have bestowed upon us and the entire national statistical system. So we are professionally and technically set to match the task of satisfying the data demands to help in the tracking of progress made toward the attainment of the different development partners. And I think we should approach that, because we have staff who are technically and professional in statistics, and we thank the PS Public Service for having supported us when we are approving the functional review, and even the guidance you have given is the board and management whenever we are taking recruitments. So there is no recruitment we have taken without consulting public service. And Madam, thank you very much for that gesture. So to fulfill the task outlined, all the data which we have talked about, we seek increased support and collaboration from all our stakeholders, development partners and friends, but above all from the government of Uganda for increased financing of statistical development and production. So I wish also to applaud Minister of Finance for supporting the Bureau in collecting this information. Though we still need more, but Minister of Finance and our host, Honorable Amos Gobi, has been with us and of course providing money for supporting the Bureau. So with the collaboration, we can use the plan for the National Statistical Development 3, which we recently launched, to further build a robust national statistical system with the capacity to respond to the ever-emerging statistical challenges in the data ecosystem. As you may be aware, the PNSD3 is a national framework for guiding statistical production and development in the country, covering the financial year from 2021 to 24 to 25, which is in line with our National Development Plan 3, and again in line for half of the International Agenda 2030, but at least we are almost 90% aligned to that one there. So as a board, we have intensified our oversight function, and we shall ensure that the Bureau continues to deliver on its mandate as envisaged in the National Development Plan 3. So we call upon our partners and stakeholders to join our effort toward the continued production of quality and timely statistics. So as I conclude, Honorable Ministers, I wish to once again reiterate the importance of the findings in assessing the progress in service delivery, and urge all of us to embrace the survey findings and use them for evidence-based decision-making. As a Bureau, we pledge to continuously engage all stakeholders in building and strengthening our national statistical system to respond to all the existing and emerging statistical needs in the country. I thank you and urge all of us to embrace statistics and an evidence-based culture. I wish you all fruitful deliberations for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Board Chair, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, Dr. Albert Byomgisha, and he has called upon us to embrace statistics and evidence because numbers don't lie. I mean, you have the numbers, like we were told earlier that all of us have embraced statistics in a way or two in our homes, but we never get to realize because we think we're just living the normal way. So we live with statistics and numbers, and I love that he spoke to the fact that while Uganda is delivering services, it is not only having a local or national focus, but an international focus because of the commitments that we have, the protocols that we've signed, the agreements, the other corporations that we do have with international organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, allow me invite for our opening remarks, the Minister of Finance Planning, from the Ministry of Finance Planning and Economic Development, State Minister of Finance, Honorable Amos Lugolobi, to speak to us. This speaks to his heart because statistics is used for planning, as Dr. Albert says. As you so wish, Honorable, you can speak from your comfort.
Thank you so much, Mildred. The Honorable Minister of Public Service, the Honorable Minister of State Public Service, the head, I think I've not seen the head of public service here, but could be represented, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Public Service, the Director General, National Population Council, the Director, Manifesto Unit, the Chairman, Board of Directors, UBOS, and the members of the board here present, the Executive Director, CISBAG, the Executive Director and Management of UBOS, representatives from development partners, representatives from government ministries, departments and agencies, representatives from the media fraternity, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you all. First, I wish to thank you all for the distinguished roles that you play and the leadership you provide in improving the socio-economic well-being of all Ugandans. We are here to launch the report of the National Service Delivery Survey 2020-2021. This is the fifth National Service Delivery Survey report in series over the years running from 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2015. The survey collects and avails information necessary to inform the public service reform programs through efficient service delivery to the citizenry. Through this survey, government receives feedback from the population on how the different government institutions deliver their mandates to satisfy people's needs. The NSDS findings, therefore, provide us with a report card with a comprehensive assessment of the trends in service delivery, using areas that were covered in the previous surveys, acting as a baseline for further improvements. I'm happy to learn that the National Service Delivery Survey 2020-2021 was conducted in all the regions of Uganda, covering various sectors such as education, health, agriculture, infrastructure, water and sanitation, energy, justice, law and order, and public sector management and accountability. I'm hopeful and expectant that the results we are about to receive today will mirror to us the availability, accessibility, cost, and utilization of services by the citizens and their levels of satisfaction. The NRM government is committed to ensuring that effective service delivery remains the ultimate outcome of our national development agenda. For instance, right from the onset, government embraced decentralization programs with a view of empowering local governments to respond to the service delivery challenges of the citizens by bringing services closer to the people. We are all aware that most of the services are decentralized at the district and regional levels. In the health sector, for instance, government rolled out Health Center 2s, Health Center 3s, Health Center 4s, and the general hospitals at various levels to bring services closer to the people. Government also went ahead to establish regional referral hospitals to reduce pressure on the national referral hospital and also improve the quality of services nationwide. Who among us does not appreciate how the process of getting a national passport has been made so easy and accessible at national and regional levels? Similar initiatives have also been implemented in the education sector with the rollout of UPE and USE programs. Government continues with its desire to have a government-aided secondary school per sub-county in order to enable all school-going children access education. Indeed, indicators from MOBOS have over the years indicated increasing levels of pupil and student enrollment across all levels. The government has also done a visibly good job in extending infrastructure services. Infrastructure services to the population in form of roads, with almost majority of the national highway roads accessible by tarmac and consequently reducing travel time and boosting trade. With the advent of the parish development model, citizens, especially those at the base of the national pyramid, will easily access agricultural services to boost their production quantities and value addition for increased earnings. The PDM will transform villages into sustainable economic units and bring all households into the money economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to remind all of us here that the government of Uganda appreciates the importance of investing in its people and ensuring that they live prosperous and productive lives. To ensure that the prosperity of our citizens is achieved, access to basic services such as education, health, transport, and agriculture extension need not to be viewed as a luxury, but as a basic necessity. However, effective service delivery is closely linked to investment in the various sectors. One cannot enjoy a service where investment has not been undertaken. We must therefore tackle the conundrum of satisfying citizen service delivery demands by solving the primary investment deficiencies across the board. To this end, for nearly the past 30 years, the government of Uganda has been focusing on attracting investments necessary to create jobs to absorb the entire national labor force. Government remains committed to this inalienable objective and is focused on building the requisite infrastructure, including roads, electricity generation, and rail network to boost investment. Although we have not yet reached where we want to be, we are making steady progress in ensuring that all these areas are given the attention they deserve as enshrined in our Vision 2040. Before I conclude, I wish to take the opportunity to applaud the Uganda Bureau of Statistics for continuously availing us reliable and official statistical indicators that give us a picture of service delivery status by government to the citizens. I think we need to applaud them for being able to do that. At the time I came in, there was some bit of turmoil here. I'm glad to say at the moment that there is utmost peace here and the things are moving on well. And for the past few months, I've been launching reports after reports after reports, which is a big indicator that the Bureau is now on its rightful footing. So, ED, thank you so much for restoring order within UBOS. The indicators inform government to do better in areas where gaps are identified. For instance, in the justice, law and order sector, government planned well enough to close the glaring gaps in the police citizen ratio and recruiting more judicial officers to ensure effective delivery of justice. I also thank the Ministry of Public Service for partnering with UBOS to ensure the success of all the National Service Delivery Survey processes up to this point when we are disseminating the results. A round of applause for the Ministry of Public Service. As a government, we well understand that no decision or plan can be made without data. I therefore encourage all government MDAs, development partners, the private sector, and the entire people of Uganda to use the National Service Delivery Survey results in evidence-based decision-making to enable the redesign of effective service delivery channels for the welfare of all Ugandans. Thank you so much for listening to me, for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Amos Lugolobi, for that very kind words coming through, and I love that he chose to stick to the tagline of the ruling government, steady progress, that we are not yet there. That's the reality. We want to do better. If we asked each and everyone in this audience or watching us live, and we asked them their last experience in terms of accessing any of the services, everyone would have a totally different answer. But like you said, it is steady progress. We will wait until we reach the promised land, which will soon come probably. We do hope so. So ladies and gentlemen, as we continue with this, for those who are joining us us online, we want to welcome you with our theme today. It's repositioning service delivery towards a transformed society, and we're paying attention specifically to using statistics and evidence for better planning of the country. I want now to invite, without any further ado, our keynote speaker, who will be speaking to service delivery expectations. This is where we want to be in the future, but where are we currently? What are some of the hindrances we have? And where do we expect to be? Where do we want to be in the near future? Ladies and gentlemen, with utmost pleasure, allow me invite the Minister of Public Service, Honorable Muruli Mikasa, to speak to us. You can feel free to speak from your comfort or come right here. Welcome.
The Honourable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the Honourable Minister of State, Minister of Public Service, the Chairman of the Board of Directors of UBOS, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Public Service, and Permanent Secretaries of the respective MDS present, the Executive Director of UBOS, and representatives of the National Planning Authority, our development partners, technical officers from the public service spectrum, and the civil society organizations, the media, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed delighted today to give the keynote address at the dissemination of the National Service Delivery Survey report for 2021, which has been organized by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics with the theme of repositioning service delivery towards a transformed Ugandan society. And this is in line with our vision of a transformed Ugandan society from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country within 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Vision 2040 was launched on the 18th of April 2013, and it is premised on deliberately transforming the Ugandan society. To answer that question, yes, there is good progress that has been made in addressing the strategic issues that need to be strengthened in order to achieve our socio-economic development since, of course, our independence. The focus in many ways has been on ideological orientation, private sector growth, and development of human resources, expanding infrastructure, the growth of markets, promotion of agricultural industrialization, support services, and good governance. It is the citizen-led service delivery that create an enhanced experience for customers that can transform the Ugandan society. The need to specify mechanisms by which service excellence is institutionalized in all ministries, departments and agencies, and local governments to facilitate the transformation of Uganda and to achieve our desires. This cannot be overemphasized. There is need to build a culture of service excellence which drives the delivery of services that meet and exceed, in some cases, the citizens' expectations. As providers of public services, we are requested to constantly challenge ourselves to ensure that the goods and services we provide are designed for the benefit of the customer, our client. We must become client-oriented or citizen-oriented, which calls for application of the set service delivery standards. It calls for improved capacity of our human resources. It calls for improved management performance and the establishment of effective systems for transparency and accountability. The underlying principles for transforming the Ugandan society include also being citizen-centered. It's the citizen first, and we dance to the tune of the citizen. It also includes promoting integrity, transparency, respect for human rights, patriotism, accountability, and committed leadership. People engagement through effective mobilization and mindset change are critical. They are critical pillars to service delivery excellence and the building of civic competence and confidence. Indeed, the dissemination of the National Service Delivery Survey report for 2021 comes at a time when the Ministry of Public Service has embarked on the process of spearheading the public service transformation agenda. It started 20, it has continued. Now we are in 2022, and I think we hope to come to the end of this exercise December 2023. This is against the backdrop as a public service, we remain critical to the implementation of all government programs through the respective MDAs, with the civil servant at the core of service delivery. In this regard, therefore, service the country continues to be the calling for every one of us gathered here, and as such, every effort must be made to ensure that the required services are delivered based on set standards. And indeed, great strides have been taken to transform the Ugandan society, and they have been attained over time. For instance, the documentation of service delivery standards to strengthen the demand and supply side of accountability. This has been documented. The introduction of the balanced scorecard approach to managing performance, this is being done. The establishment of one-stop service centers in the different regions to bring services nearer to the recipient. This has started. We have these centers in Kampala here, Kasese, Jinja, and elsewhere. And work is ongoing. We have instituted a baraza, the people engagement, in other words, the community engagement, to obtain feedback on the services offered. And these are being done even at local government level. These barazas have been held in spite of the difficulties of financing them. They're being held to get a feedback, to hear from the recipients of our services how they rate us, how they look at it, and probably the gaps they identify. And then this would help us to make improvements so that in the end we have the quality service which is appreciable to us and to the recipients. The administration of community scorecards to obtain service experiences of clients, the collection of data through the National Service Delivery Survey to determine the level of satisfaction on the services obtained by service recipients, and of course, re-engineering the business processes to reduce red tape. And this is happening, and it is continuing to happen. To ensure that the above strides serve their intended purpose, mechanisms to ensure compliance, performance, and delivery of services have been put in place. And these include the following: the integrated performance management systems, yes, so that all the systems can talk to each other, they can complement each other, and therefore produce results much faster. The annual assessment of services, this is done, it's been offered. And compliance inspections are being done. Maybe the frequency is not as high as we should have expected, but this is because of economic or budgetary constraints. Nevertheless, they are being done. Then the strengthening of internal controls and the audit processes, this too has improved and it's being done. And of course, the institution assessments, these are being done with the application really now of technology as a helper, as a tool towards helping us achieve these goals and refine our methods of work. It goes without mention that the services must be of the right quality and quantity. They must be of the right cost. They must be timely and delivered with utmost efficiency and effectiveness. This is in tandem with the theme of the day. Therefore, as a service, we continue to reposition ourselves to deliver the desired services that will transform Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to inform you that as part of the effort to reposition ourselves in transforming Uganda, service delivery standards for key services that touch the lives of the people of Uganda have been documented and costed. In view of the above, a compendium of service delivery standards for 8 service areas, which include education, health, water and environment, agriculture, works and transport, the social services, and public service management, has been developed. Once this is clear, then it makes the work of service delivery easier, because you are not going through a web or a dark room. You are going through something which is lit, clear, and therefore doesn't take time for you to behave appropriately. These will therefore ensure uniformity, because you are reading from the same book, same page. They will empower the citizens to demand for services due to them. The citizens, the clients, will be able to know that Ministry of Public Service offers this. Agriculture, this is what I expect. If it is not given, then I demand for it, and I need an explanation. These will also help in informing the planning and budgeting, and ultimately improve performance and increase the demand for services, and lead finally to the satisfaction of our clientele. What we need at the end of this is yes, aha, that aha status. And if you are in Gulu, we want our citizens to say kakare, that you have given the service. If you are here in Kampala, we want to say oh tio ao. And if you are in Hoima, then nuku omadi, nuku. You'll be happy. You see? It is therefore my considered view that the findings of the 5th National Service Delivery Survey report be given the required attention by all actors, including state and non-state actors at all levels, for purposes of continuous improvement for sustainable service delivery. Government and the public at large are alive to the service delivery challenges that we have gone through, and that occasionally we go through, we get entangled into. For instance, the COVID-19 pandemic. For instance, the climatic hazards in the mountainous areas, and the challenges that we continue to face during the post-COVID-19 era. I therefore wish to salute all public officers for keeping afloat during the hard times. You have not dived below, you have not sunk. You've been able to keep your heads afloat, and you're still here struggling. Thank you very much for that. This has been as a result of sacrifice, it's been as a result of resilience and dedication to serve our country, to serve our people. And this cannot be taken for granted. Another round of applause for this. As a service, we should continue to learn from the challenges of delivering services during crises like these we have gone through, like the COVID-19, like the climatic hazards that we have got, like the economic pendulous movements which have happened. You're expecting a release of 100%, you get a release of 40%. Yet service must continue. When hoima se utagichumba, utagiokia, baitu nsange hili. Don't cook it, don't roast it, but I want it ready for eating. So this is what we are going through. So we must learn lessons and build experiences and keep afloat and continue providing a service. We can't just fold up and say that's the end. No, the state must remain, the state must be there, the state of Uganda must remain. And it remains when the service is being provided and the people are enjoying that service. Therefore, service delivery must necessarily remain on course across all the government spectrum. This should be informed by our continued building our capacity to deliver services during the changing times, informed by policy, population dynamics, and increasing technology uptake world over. I am certain that the findings of the 5th National Service Delivery Survey will inform the future course of action. Government of Uganda, under the National Development Plan 3, envisages a transformed Ugandan society. Transformed, qualitatively changed from one weak state to a higher and superior state. And the process is irreversible. We can't walk 10 steps ahead and then 4 steps back. It is continuous, steady trajectory. So we have to move from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country. And I have no doubt that this will be achieved. It will be achieved, given the information we have now, which is hard fact, and given the focus that we have, that we must move there. But ultimately, given the focus of our leader, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, we are going to achieve this. It is in the same spirit that the public service envisages an efficient, effective, affordable, and accountable delivery of service to the people of Uganda. And remember, we hold these offices in trust for our people. And this is clearly captured from the Constitution in the National Development Plan number 3. We cannot achieve this, though, without one other adjunct, and that is good governance in all aspects. Good governance. Good governance is not just limited. Sometimes people limit it just to the politics. You are a leader here, therefore good governance. Good governance cuts across the service spectrum. You see, the board chairman there must also exercise good governance. the ED must exercise good governance. And the people working in the statistics department here must exercise good governance. Everybody. The extension worker must exercise good governance. It cuts across. It does not spare anybody. And this should be also at the forefront as we provide a service to our country. This, if it achieved, will make sure that, yes, we have value for money, that the national priorities will be given the due attention, and we shall manage sustainably the public resources. I wish to invite you to join hands with all government agencies that are mandated to promote good governance, to ensure that we deliver an efficient, effective, accountable, timely, client-centered, and responsive service from now and in the future. It is part of the concerted effort that together as key players will build a sustainable service that will deliver on the national vision and aspirations. This is the same spirit which will ensure operational efficiency across all MDAs and the private sector. Another prerequisite for good service delivery is security, peace across the country. And I'm glad to say that now there is peace and security across the country. So our national value system that is informed by our patriotism and the right mindset should continue to be at the center of the service delivery agenda, since government as an enabler has put in place the required environment for us to serve our people with the dedication and diligence. We want peace, we have it. We want improved technology, we have it. We have good communication, we have it. We have the human capital, the relevant training and skills repertoire, we have it. Therefore, we must continue to serve very well to the best of our ability. Government priorities continue to be creating jobs and wealth, streamlining access to education and health services, ensuring justice and equity, protection of life and property, etc., etc. I wish to reaffirm government commitment to this process, and every effort will be made to maintain the status quo. In view of that, let me invite you to continue mobilizing the public to demand for and to have access to the services, because these are critical to their well-being. This should be part of the effort to build the right mindset around the service delivery agenda through collective consciousness. Therefore, this report, 2021, gives us the opportunity to appreciate the service gaps and the challenges they are under that will inform the service delivery agenda for the country. Let me invite you to reflect on the call to serve the people of Uganda, guided by our inspirational motto, "For God and my country." As I conclude, let me thank the leadership of UBOS for spearheading the National Service Delivery Survey with the support of the Technical Working Group, the enumerators, the supervisors, and all the development partners for a job well done. Let me sincerely appreciate all the local leaders at the grassroots level for the support extended to our field officers and the Minister of Finance and Planning and Economic Development, and the development partners for the financial support. To all these who participated in the survey, your unwavering and invaluable contribution is acknowledged. We can't take it for granted. What remains ahead of us is to make use of these findings to inform the future processes of better service delivery to the people of Uganda. The findings form the bedrock for the informed policy agenda for sustainable service delivery. Let me implore all of us here to remain committed to our mandate of service delivery to the development of Uganda. Let me thank the Ministry of Planning, of Finance Planning and Economic Development, the leadership once again and management of UBOS, the management of the Ministry of Public Service for spearheading the actualization of the 5th National Service Delivery Survey. I therefore take this opportunity to declare that the dissemination of the service, Delivery Service Survey Report 2021 is opened. Thank you for listening to me. For God and my country.
Ladies and gentlemen, a bigger round of applause for Honorable Murole Mukasa. Quite a lot that he paid attention to, but two particularly stand out, and that is having people-centered, or he called it client-centered. In this case, we are looking at citizen-centered service delivery. But he was also very quick to speak to the issue of civic competence, because it is one thing for these services to be available, but the question is, do the people know that the services are available? But even while they access the services, do they know their rights? Because while you go to a health center to access the services there, you have rights as a patient. It is not that everything the doctor says is right. So do these people understand their rights while they do access these services that are, of course, as a result of their tax paying? Ladies and gentlemen, to now give us an overview and a general statement of the results, but just before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, as we continued with the discussions, we were joined by the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of, from the Judiciary, I beg your pardon, Mr. Pius Bigirimana. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. And ladies and gentlemen, now allow me with utmost pleasure invite the Executive Director of Uganda Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Chris Mukiza Ndatira, to give us an overview and general statements of the results. I know that many people are burning to know what exactly this report and survey is about, what you found out about education, about the judiciary, about infrastructure and all these other services. So ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as we welcome Mr. Chris Mukiza.
Okay. I think, colleagues, let's give the Honorable Minister the patriotic clap. Again. Thank you. All protocol observed. It's with much pleasure that I give the highlights of the National Service Delivery Survey. I'll talk briefly about UBOS, the background to the survey objectives, scope and coverage, and finally data utilization. The Bureau was founded in 1998 under the Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act to provide for the development and maintenance of national score system, to ensure collection, analysis, and publication of integrated, relevant, reliable, and timely statistical information. I don't know what has happened to my projection. As they sort it out, I will briefly inform the nation about our vision. Our vision is striving to become a world-class national score office. This one entails a lot of things. Having data available, disseminated digitally, real time, and all the data within one compressed statistical database. And our mission is to coordinate the national score system and provide quality statistics and score products and services that support development processes. We have a strategic plan with one strategic goal of developing and maintaining an integrated, coherent, and reliable national score system. And within, we have the interventions for this goal that we aim to achieve. In 1992, the centralization policy transferred substantial planning and service delivery functions from central government to local government. And this one was aimed at giving the people who require services all information and the power to participate in the planning and decision making. And this year was started in 1959 by a gentleman called Taibut, who said that the service delivery will improve if people participate and have full information on what they deserve and desire from public services. Implementation of the centralization policy and other plans require regular monitoring and evaluation if provision of the services at grassroots level is to be enhanced. And therefore, Uganda Bureau of Statistics set up to do this through the National Service Delivery Survey. As we have heard from Honorable Minister of Public Service, this is the 5th National Service Delivery Survey. The first one was in 2002, 4 years after Uganda Bureau of Statistics was founded. But prior to that, there was a baseline conducted by CIET International and UNICEF. And this one gave us few indicators and performance. 2002, we looked at the key social services, education, health, manufacturing, and other areas. Then 2004 and 2005, the service delivery survey was targeting the performance of Poverty Eradication Action Plan, PEP. The most recent one of 2015 looked again at the sectors that were evaluated in 2002, notable ones being education, health, roads, manufacturing, agriculture and veterinary services, and governance. And the same applies to the one of 2021, which adds only the ICT. So you can see all things being the same. This survey is supposed to be conducted every 5 years to see whether there has been any change from the previous findings. This one was supposed to be done in 2020, but COVID stopped us and we conducted it in 2021. We apologize sincerely for having delayed to disseminate this report because we had to make sure that all areas were covered and data validation was undertaken. The main objectives of the National Service Delivery Survey 2021 was to establish the availability, accessibility, affordability, and utilization of services, and whether service recipients are satisfied with the trends in service delivery in terms of coverage, quality, and quantity. I think here we should next time look at the speed at which the services are delivered. Or perhaps the speed is part of quality. Because the service delivered late, like in justice they say, justice delayed is justice denied. The specific objectives were 4, to provide up-to-date information on the performance and impact of selected public services, to identify constraints and gaps in the provision of selected government services by sector, to measure changes in service delivery, selected sectors, and provide recommendations for improvement in service delivery. So we are not only diagonizing, but we are providing prescriptions for service delivery people to look at, and if they deem them important, to be in the best interest of the country that they take these recommendations. But ours is just an advice. The coverage, as the Honourable Minister of Finance told you, we covered all the 15 statistical sub-regions and the 146 districts. The statistical sub-regions are shown. For those who are not able to look at the screen, I will mention them: Kampala, we have Uganda North, we have Uganda South. This, I think, equator side. North is the Ruwero and others. Bukedi, Busoga, Elgon, Teso, Acholi, Karamoja, Lango, West Nile, Ankole, Bunyoro, Kigezi, and Tolo. So no sub-region was left behind. At the Bureau, we have decided to divide these in statistical sub-regions for better statistical service delivery. The modules were 3. The survey had a household module that sought information from households because they are the ones whose services are intended for. Community service providers, information from services available in the communities. Then schools, health centers, and district level service providers. Education, health, water and sanitation, environmental management, energy use and minerals, land and housing conditions, justice, law and order, agricultural services, transport services, main road infrastructure, water and air transport, public sector management and accountability, and the projects implemented. So the estimates have been generated at national level, dichotomized between urban and rural in all 15 statistical sub-regions. And I think the analysis should go deeper. I don't know whether we have enough data points to look at each district. The technicians are saying, no, we hope that the next survey, we put in a lot of resources and look at each district. And possibly because there is PDM, we can look at how parishes will have performed 5 years after the implementation of the PDM. So that's one area of improvement, I think. I know it will require a lot of human and financial resources, but is an exercise worth undertaking. Data utilization. Because there is one thing to have data, and the other thing to use that data to make an impact on the human well-being. Because that's what data is for. So we are calling upon all stakeholders to utilize the wealth of data collected and availed over years. You can see all the 5 national service delivery surveys. We have other household surveys, so many enterprise surveys and others. So the public is called upon to utilize the wealth of data. You are told data is a public good. We don't sell it. It's accessible whenever you require it. Then we require also users to take in-depth empirical analysis using the data. And this is to ensure better future policy formulation, implementation, and monitoring of service delivery. If you can see data as fundamental values, learn how to extract it, analyze it, use it, there will be a huge reward. Remember, good data beats opinion. Good data is evidence and cannot be rivaled by any other opinion. Vote of thanks. We want to extend a vote of thanks to Government of Uganda and the European Union for providing required funding that enable UBOS to carry out the survey. In the Government of Uganda here, Minister of Public Service, the recipients and the chief deliverers of public services provided resources towards funding, towards training, recruitment training, and other capacity building efforts. And for that, we shall forever be grateful. Plus being on our bumper to produce the report. Because if you don't remind us, we have so many surveys we may forget that there is some important. And you know, we statisticians have been very poor at communicating statistics. So I want to thank my sister, the PS Public Service, for having been on my case on a daily basis that we need to provide this. Maybe it would have taken much longer, therefore services denied. I appreciate the World Bank for supporting us in printing the report, because they also are part of the development agenda of this country. This National Service Delivery Survey report would not have been possible without teamwork and dedication of various MDAs and individuals who contributed in valuable time, ideas, and wealth of experience. We're highly indebted to all field staff. Do we have some of them here? I think they're in the field. I know they are now in the field conducting Uganda demographic and health survey. They are doing census mapping. They are doing panel household survey, annual agricultural survey. So they are not here, but these are our troops that they put their line across during the COVID pandemic to conduct the survey. Normally, credit is given to people who sit in office, but I think these are the main people that we need to thank for having administered the tours, walked through the terrain of Uganda during rain and sunshine. So we thank them very much, and God will reward their effort. I also want to extend gratitude to the Interministerial Steering Committee. Do you have members here? The PSCs, they are part of the Interministerial Steering Committee, including the head of public service and secretary to cabinet, who is represented by my elder brother. Interministerial Technical Committee, we have the chief. You can stand up for recognition, with Stephen Heren. These were the technical brains from UBOS and public service. Survey management team, we have them here. They are also in the field. They have not come to share on the food. They have individual households and service providers. The respondents who never tire to give us information, without whose cooperation we can have nothing to report about. So households and service providers, we thank you very much, never tire. We do this so that we can change the well-being of these households. MDAs and local governments who also participated, all districts would go and see the cows. They would sometimes give us planners, CDOs to move with us, the LC ones who are always our guide. We thank them very much, and they should not give up, because our job is to get information on a daily basis. The communication and dissemination team that has pulled up this one, and the media fraternity, and all you here present. With that, I think we are ready to get the real report. Over to you, Mildred. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edie. Yes, we are more than ready to receive from the report. And I love the elaborate discussion when the Edie talks about the fact that it is one thing to have the data, but it's another thing for that data to actually impact. So the use of the data is very key. And I love when he says that good data beats opinion. That's true, because, I mean, like I said earlier on, the numbers do not lie. Ladies and gentlemen, a number of sectors were covered, but we may not be able to have an in-depth of all of them today, but let's start off with a few of some of those, and to present some of the key findings on demographics, education, as well as health, because these are two very important aspects. When you talk about health, they always say that a healthy nation is a wealthy nation, so the health of citizens is very key, but also education is very, very important when it comes comes to building a nation. We are all products of some sort of health system right here. That is why we behave the way we are. So ladies and gentlemen, to be able to discuss with regard to that will be Mr. Vincent Fred Senono, who is the head of the Demographics and Social Statistics Department at the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. We will just have an overview. I know it's a huge report, the huge findings with regard to what came out of health and education, but Mr. Vincent Senono, it is your time. Let's see what is in health and education and how the services therein were delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him.
Thank you, Mildred. All protocol observed. I'm going to briefly talk about the background of the survey. And as already explained by the AD and the honorable ministers, I will just briefly go through the key findings, given that I have limited time on air. So all this is going to be skipped because of time. But what is important that what the ED said, that we follow a robust process of correcting this data. We just not go to the field and pick the people, but do a robust process until we get the findings. That is the message. So also what is important is that before we talk about the findings, we always talk about the characteristics of the people. And one of the issues, how many people are estimated in the survey, to ensure that it is consistent with the projected population. So these are the key findings. And also what is important to note that it has been consistent that whenever we have male and female, the females are more than the males, and has been consistent in all the surveys. We also note that on average, always, most of the households are headed by men and less by women. And we also note that we still have heads who are still literate in the households. And that is the message we are. Also, we note that actually majority of the Ugandans still engage in agriculture. Some of the key highlights I've skipped, but some of them, what is becoming of importance now is the passport. We can see that actually few Ugandans still have passports. So less than 1% of the population in Uganda have passport. So what is also note that the time taken to acquire the passport has improved. We say that within most of the people who apply for passport can get it within a month. And we also see that those who went to get for passport, majority of them were satisfied with the process of acquiring the passport. And we also picked some of the key findings that one of the requirements of recent is having a birth certificate. But the findings show that actually when talk about 8 in every 10 Ugandans don't have a birth certificate. Although we note that there is an improvement in accessing the birth certificate, we say that within a month, people can get a passport, but very few are getting it. We also looked at other documents which are required for someone to travel, as you can note. But we say that most of them can obtain the document, but majority don't know. Majority of the population don't know how to get the travel documents. And one of the things we also looked at is to look at, are Ugandans visiting some places? We note that very few Ugandans have been visiting what we call tourism sites in Uganda. And the figure has been somewhat reduced, maybe basically because of COVID. We see that there is a reduction in the number of people, although very small, but we see there is a reduction. We also captured issues to do with the registration and acquisition of ID. And we see that about 8 in every 10 persons in Uganda, they have registered for a national ID. But among those who have applied, only 90 have got the national ID. What is also coming out that for those who got the ID, there were majority of them, almost 96%, were satisfied with the service. So I'll go briefly through education, and there are a number of slides which I'm going to skip, but we see that actually we still have the number of people who are currently attending school somehow reduced compared to previous surveys. And the major reason, apart from being young, is that during COVID-19, we see that apart from young, COVID-19 contributed to also children not being in school, and also the cost has also indicated they have increased. But also we see that girls seem to be more disadvantaged than boys in terms of what's affecting them. I'll skip that one. What also see that the distance learners go for only day scholars, we see that actually the mean distance they travel is a bit low, and this is about 9 in every 10 child who are attending day school. We find that the distance is less than 3 kilometers. Some of the indicators on education is about feeding in government schools. We see that actual learners, about 50% of the learners get lunch at school. But also note that 16% of the learners don't have anything to eat at school. We see a difference in terms of feeding learners. We see that in terms of the western part, most of the people go with the food, while when we see in the northern part and the central and the Busoga, we all see that people are fed from school. One of the issues also we looked about, because this survey was done after the COVID, we wanted to find out whether during the COVID but lockdown, we see that how many of the learners who were at home could access the learning materials. And we can see that only 8 in every 10 pupils could be able to access materials while at home. And we can see the differences in the terms of where they go. And what is also important to look at the availability versus adequate for classrooms. We note that actually we can see that most of the classrooms, toilets in primary schools are available, but they are not inadequate. We see nationally that the rural areas, we had more pupils per teacher ratio that compared to the previous service delivery. Previous it was 53% per teacher. Now in rural areas it went up to 58 per teacher. And you can see the variation among sub-regions, and we see Karamoja has the lowest pupil teacher ratio, and we see highest teacher ratio in West Nile. We always talk about the pupil stance ratio. That is not the toilet facility, but the stances. And we see that between the two surveys, the pupil stance ratio has increased. That means there are more pupils per stance compared to previous service delivery survey. instances where, like when you have built a toilet facilities, there are what we call apartments, where at least one kid can go at what? At a time. So that means that if you have more pupils per stance, it means more pupils will wait a longer time waiting to go for short call before another one. Another one. So that is the message. And we see real variation for boys and girls among sub-regions. And also what we note, that look at the issues of drinking water, we see that actually about 34 schools did not have water at all for children to drink at school. 34%. So I'll skip some of them because of time. I've been advised that to skip some of them. So what also note that actually we see that the number of people who fell sick in the last 30 days reduced compared to 2015 service delivery survey. And this is consistent with all other surveys we have undertaken. We have seen that in last year NHS we saw a drop in the number of people who fell sick. And this is also a testament that actually there is an improvement in people who are falling sick over time. And we also see that government, now we see when an illness requires some treatment or medication, we see that the first place where they go is a government health facility. And we also see that the distance has significantly reduced. So I request that we look at this service delivery. We see that actually there is an improvement in government service delivery in health facilities. So we see that all the areas, there is an improvement, but we still have a small percentage which indicates that the service delivery has worsened. Similarly, we see that one of the outstanding is the cleanliness and the continuous quality improvement. That's what we say, that actually the respondents were more happy for the service improvement. So briefly, this is the part. I don't know, I have 2 more minutes to present another presentation. Okay, in another part, we looked at water and sanitation, and this is about a household able to access improved source, and this is one of them. And we are grouped into 2, improved water sources and unimproved water sources. And we see that when it comes to water sources, we see that actually boreholes and protected spring are leading, both in a dry season and a wet season. But also, what is important to note that under NDP 3 target, it was, but we know that we are supposed to achieve 100% by the end of the NDP 3. And this is where we are, both in the dry season and the wet season. So what is unique that actually During dry season, less households use improved sources compared to wet season. We see that there is an improvement in the proportion of households that indicated that the availability of improved source of water. Compared to 2015, we note that it was 15% indicating an improvement. Now we are talking about 42%. In terms of toilet facility, we see that we still have households who don't have toilet facilities, and the problem is being in Karamoja, where 62 or 6 in every 10 households in Karamoja don't have a toilet facility. Yeah, you can have toilet, but also sanitate, have soap and water is also an indicator of sanitation. And you observe that actually we have made a very slight improvement in terms of hand washing facility at toilet and after use of toilet. It only stands at 14 compared to 8. Given that agriculture is important, as I've already mentioned, that we see that the households engaged in agriculture somehow reduced from 76% to 64%. And we also looked at certain agricultural inputs, and we see that actually households, agricultural households who are using these inputs are a bit low. Mainly it has to do with planting materials. But when it comes to pesticides, hybrid seeds, herbicides, we find that the number is still really low. And most of people get them from the market, open market. And only 13% indicated that they got it from government. We note that agriculture extension services is one of the services required to improvement of agriculture. And we note that actually for those who wanted extension services for crop husbandry, only 31% were able to get it. We see higher in animal husbandry, about 49%, 47% for animal husbandry, and 49% for fish farming, which means that about 47% of the agriculturists who were animal rearing required services actually got those services. And on average, we say that about 35% of the agricultural household who wanted extension services got those services. We also looked at the willingness to pay for extension services. We note that actually, although people want services, but we realize that majority don't want to pay for those services. About only 36% of those who wanted services actually are willing to pay for those services. And we see that again in animal husbandry, we see that more people there are willing to pay for services compared to other sectors of agriculture. Markets, just mentioned, one of the way of improving technology is access to the market through E. And you can see that only 4% can access the market through the E-system, phone and the rest. So you can see that technology is still behind in the agriculture sector. Production, as already noted, that we're majority of the household in agriculture, but we note that majority of the people engaged in agriculture are rain-fed, about 83%. We also presented issues to environment, and we looked at them. We note that overall, 58% of the respondents indicated that the environment issues have worsened. And about 16% indicated that there is an improvement. And we say that the issues to do with the mostly degraded environment, and we say that it's mainly the wetlands. And we also observe that we say that the population pressure is contributing significantly to degrading of the environment. I will just talk about issues to do with land. We can say that the majority of the people own land, but we say that titled land is only 19%. Am I moving? Okay, we also note that the main source for energy for cooking has continuously remained wood and charcoal, and that has been the trend all the time. But we also note that we also note that the only 20% of the households are using grid electricity. And we say that actually there is a variation. We say that of those 20%, majority of them are in what? Kampala. And we see in some areas like Karamoja, Teso, we see even less than 5% of the people are having grid electricity. In terms of proportion of districts possessing minimum load equipment, we say that actually we see an improvement in district ownership of minimum load equipment as observed. So this is really up to almost a greater 93% of the districts had the minimum, because this survey went to all districts, apart from the other one, which is household, but for district level indicators, all districts were visited. So this is an indication that this is not a sample, but all districts in Uganda. We also requested about accessibility of this equipment of sub-counties. These were not asked but from the district. We asked at the what? At the sub-county. Yes, they have graders at the district. Can you access them? And this is what their answer. Majority of them can, and they have seen an improvement over the years. Members, I want to request that given the time, let us have my colleague present the remaining components, and then after that we can have a conclusion.
Let me come. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Vincent Fred Senono. I know that time is not really on our side, but before we get Mr. Stephen Bariahirwa, who will be speaking to us about some of the key findings of coming out from the public sector management, issues of justice, law and order sector, I would like to invite the Executive Director of the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group to briefly give us a discussion and thought on the civil society side on some of the sectors that have been hinted. Many of you do not have your birth certificate. Some of you do not even have a passport. Is it that you don't have aspirations to travel or something? Or because the national ID now can make us move across East Africa, it's okay. So let's have Mr. Julius Mukunda speak to some of these, and then we will launch the report officially, go off air, and then we will continue with this discussion on just one more aspect of JLOS and have our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, you boss, for the report, and all protocol observed. Just I understand we don't have time, but I just speak on 3 major issues that really captured my attention, and one of them is, for me, is what is coming out clearly is around the issue of mindset change and the bureaucratic processes of delivering government services. I think this, for me, is very, very critical, that we need to be able to look at that. I was telling a friend of mine, to take this long time to get a passport is not something that we need.